Rose Jackson, thanks for your time.
Yeah, no worries, Nick.
It's been a bad week for the government, for your friend Jo Haylen and for you. You jumped into a ministerial car for a trip to a winery. Now, you've said you didn't think much of it at the time. You've conceded you probably should have. Jo Haylen's now lost her job, but you're still standing. Do you have any survivor's guilt?
I feel really bad for Jo. It's well known she's my best friend, and I'm really sad to lose her as a colleague. I'm just really determined to get on with my job. Obviously the last few days haven't been great. I'm not in politics for that kind of stuff. I'm in it because I really care about the issues that I have the incredible privilege of working on. I
mean, given that that's your focus, are you disappointed that one of these decisions has kind of distracted from that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've acknowledged I wasn't thinking when I got in the car. It was my birthday. It was a surprise thing. The whole weekend, the whole lunch was a surprise for me. And what a lovely thing for my husband and my friends to do for me. But yeah, I mean, it did mean I was completely just, in the dark about all the arrangements, and I was really excited to have lunch with my friends. And I just didn't think. Obviously, I'm incredibly disappointed that sort of mistake not to think at the time in the excitement of that lunch has been a distraction.
You said already that you're 100% certain that all of your car trips would pass the pub test, so no trips to wineries or pubs for that matter?
No. I am really confident. Of course, I've had a look back over. People would expect me to do that, and I have done that, and I am really confident.
Under the new rules, drivers will still be allowed for private trips, but they have to be incidental to a minister's duties. These are in place from now. So how do you interpret that?
Yeah, I mean, I interpret that as, for example, just this week, kids go back to school. I had an appointment in Rozelle on Tuesday morning. I dropped my son to school on the way to that. That's an example of, it's a private trip to take my son to school, but it was on the way to a work event.
So, the trip to the school on the way to work, that's okay, but maybe going to a private party and answering an email on the way to justify the trip, that's not okay?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done anything like that, and I don't intend to do anything like that in the future.
All of this, I imagine, has been somewhat of a distraction from your job as mental health minister, a very big job considering, in particular, the mass resignation of hospital psychiatrists in New South Wales. How many have left their jobs so far?
Yeah, so it's 51 psychiatrists have followed through on the threat of mass resignation, and, that's obviously having some impact on the system. Really pleasingly, though, Nick, 46 have actually rescinded their resignation, and there's still around 100 or so that have deferred or suspended. I get the mental health system's under strain. I don't feel as though acting on a mass resignation threat to push a 25% wage claim is reasonable. I don't.
There is already a chronic shortage of psychiatrists. This staffing crisis has made it worse. We saw a patient at Westmead Hospital with chronic schizophrenia wait 88 hours for a mental health bed late last month. At Cumberland Hospital, several mental health units have closed. The mental health assessment centre's also shut its doors. So what is your plan to keep psychiatrists?
Our plan is to get a fair, transparent determination through the Industrial Relations Commission.
But this is happening now. This crisis is happening now. The IRC doesn't even start hearing it for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, our contingency plans that we have in place, whether it's the use of VMOs or locums, other forms of employment, are actually meaning, the system's under stress. I have, no problems acknowledging that. But in the circumstances, care is being offered. People are able to access very, very high quality care.
You've been recruiting locums, obviously, to try to cover the shortfall. You're paying some of them $3,000 a day. If you're paying that much for the locums, you could afford the 25% that psychiatrists say they need to stay in the system. So why not be pragmatic?
Yeah, I mean, I think those temporary measures, those contingency measures to try and manage the system that we have now are really important to ensure continuity of care, but they're not long-term plans. They're not.
Why are they temporary though? Because what's going to change?
Yeah, well, we have the IRC that's hearing the matter before the full bench in mid-March.
If someone gets hurt because they're not getting the specialist treatment they need, won't you and the government have to take responsibility for that?
People expect me as a minister to take responsibility for the entire system, the good, the bad and the ugly, and I do. And yeah, we have to do broader system reform. The system right now is hurting people. People are experiencing poor outcomes because they can't get the kind of care and support they need in a system that doesn't always meet them where they're at. The next step, though, is not just to say, yeah, it's a problem and I acknowledge that, it's to have a plan, and whether it's through the IRC, whether it's through our short-term contingency planning, or whether it's through our long-term system reform work, I feel like we do have a plan.
Ros Jackson, thanks for your time.
No worries, Nick.